Black Mississippi voters make up about 2/3 of the Democratic Party voting base in the state. Mississippi has the highest concentration of black voters anywhere in the country. Organizations are doing their best to mobilize voters for the upcoming election, especially for the gubernatorial race between incumbent Republican Tate Reeves and Democratic challenger Brandon Presley. Joining me from Jackson, Mississippi is the Mississippi Votes Policy and Research Director, Hannah Williams. Hannah, glad to have you here on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Give us a sense of what the strategy is, because I was there on the ground both years when Cindy Hyde-Smith was being targeted, and Mississippi had the opportunity to elect an African American to the United States Senate. The first time he lost by 65,000 votes. And when we look at the numbers, you had more than 100,000 black folks who were eligible, but just who didn't vote. And so are y'all looking at that data and saying, okay, where are our weak points? And let's shore up, let's go after those areas, because that could make the difference this year.
Absolutely. Mississippi Votes is a nonpartisan nonprofit. So our whole entire mission is to make sure that we're engaging Mississippians year round, whether there's an election or not, even though in Mississippi we always have an election. When we look at our data research, we basically pinpoint areas or counties that we feel are having issues at the polls, are not turning out the way they should be. The young folks aren't engaged. People may not have enough information to feel like they can go to the polls and make an educated submission on their ballot. So we try to top to bottom, go throughout the entire state, have these community conversations, do a lot of political education to make sure that people are prepared to go to the polls.
What would you say are the areas that really need attention, concentration?
It almost goes without saying that the Mississippi Delta is always a place that is going to need extra help, extra push, even though the community front-facingly seems to be super engaged. They always turn out to elections.
So for the people, just 1 second, for the people who are not from there, when you say Mississippi Delta, what does that even mean?
So the Mississippi Delta is that western border of the state that was like it's like a really big agricultural community, really famous for its agricultural productions during slavery. It's a very high dense population of black people, very underfunded. The schools are underfunded, the public schools, the universities in that area like Delta State and Mississippi Valley State are also experiencing not getting the type of money that they need. And so we have people in the Delta who may be registered to vote and are engaged and are educated about what's going on, but their polling place might not be a place that is convenient for them to go to because of how spread out.
And so I have a map up right now. That shows that. And so this right here is the Mississippi Delta. So is it the pink area there, or is it the green area?
It's the green area.
Got it. And so what you're saying is there's a big concentration of black folks there who ordinarily are not turning out.
Yes.
So what are y'all doing? Is it door to door? Is it media? So what exactly are you doing to turn black folks out in that area?
We are heavily geo-targeting that area in terms of media. We have digital advertisements. We have billboards for folks who may not have access to see a digital advertisement. We are door knocking, we're text banking, we're charging our students in those communities. We have fellowships where college students can get involved with our organization, and we charge our students with going out into the community, having these conversations with folks. If there are churches or anybody that wants to collab with us, we pay folks to go pick people up and take them to the polls. Like whatever it takes, we try to eliminate all of the barriers from people actually going and showing up on election day.
Questions from panel. Robert, you first.
So on this point, one of the issues that I've found, particularly when targeting young people, is helping them to connect the political issues as they exist right now with their personal issues. What do you guys do to help connect with young people and help them understand the importance of the elections that are coming up?
Well, one thing that we do outside of going to campuses and talking to people face to face is that all of our programming is completely designed by young people. Our policy agendas are designed by young people. We ask, we do polls, we have focus groups, just regular conversations where we may stop people on the street or before they're going into the caf, before they go to class, wherever. If they are a young person, we want to know, well, what issues do you think you're facing right now? And then we always find a way to connect that conversation back to voting, because most people don't connect those conversations back. There are a lot of issues that young people are aware of that they don't understand how that goes back to picking their governor or picking their legislator.
Rebecca.
First, thanks for being on the program tonight. So outside of preparation for election and perhaps voter registration, what other types of civic engagement do you all engage in, especially in the Delta area year-round?
Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, we do have a whole bunch of fellowships. We have 3 that are targeted to college students or college age folks, and then we have 1 that is for high school students where we take them and we basically teach them civics, because our school system in Mississippi doesn't have civics anymore. So they get a basics of like how the government actually works, and then they are charged with going out into the community, having those conversations, having conversations with their parents, and also volunteering with us, coming out in the field, door knocking, really just learning what it takes to be an organizer, but also learning about civic engagement. And we also participate in the legislature every year. Our policy agenda is fully informed by the issues that young people want to see change in Mississippi, whether that's access to health care, a modernized voting system, just anything, whatever they feel like is an issue right now, climate change, economic mobility, housing. We take on those issues and we try to either put policy out there that makes sense for us, or we do our best to try to block harmful policies that will be detrimental to the people of Mississippi.
Anthony, go to my iPad here. This one of those laws we talked about was where more than 15% of black Mississippians are permanently barred from voting. This goes back to the racist policy from the 1890 Constitutional Convention, which was called specifically to keep black folks from being elected. That means it's 130,000 people in Mississippi, 130,000 black voters who cannot vote. And so that is also what impacts the ability to win in Mississippi.
Absolutely. We have a program designed for folks to help get their voting rights back as well. It's an online program. We go through the legislature. We help people become bills of suffrage, and we try our best to work with our legislative partners and allies to push those applications through. Unfortunately, this year we submitted over 100 bills of suffrage and none were selected, which is absolutely historic for us. So there's definitely like a organized push to try to keep folks out from participating in elections. But then there's also this thing going on in the Fifth Circuit where pretty much it has already been decided that keeping someone who has committed or has been convicted of one of these disenfranchising crimes away from voting is considered cruel and unusual punishment. But our Attorney General has appealed it, so it's gone back to the Fifth Circuit. So we're hoping for an outcome that really helps the people who want to be involved in politics past whatever they've done in life. People have grown, people are older, and folks come to us every day asking how can they get involved in this process, if not for themselves, for their children's sake.
And before I go to Scott, and again, look, one of the issues you're dealing with is across the board when it comes to voter participation in Mississippi. This is 2020 presidential election. You see the average of the United States is 66.7%, Minnesota at the highest at 80%. And if you go down this list here, you keep going down, Mississippi is 6th from the bottom. And so you're talking about 60.2% of the folks in Mississippi vote. It was crazy to me You're talking about a city, excuse me, a state that that gets a significant amount of its money from the federal government. So you got people in Mississippi who simply are not participating, and normally you see a higher turnout in the presidential election than anywhere else.
Yes, it's been a challenge these last few years to get folks to turn out. It's not something that we take lightly, even though we have had some growth in a lot of different places. We would like to see growth all over the entirety of the state. I know over the summer when we had our primaries elections, it was one of the lowest statewide turnouts like we've had in like 40 years almost. So we're doing everything that we can. We're on the ground. We're pushing people really hard to turn out. We're trying to connect these issues to voting. And all we can really do is just hope that people keep their promises that they make to us and head to the polls.
Indeed, indeed. Well, Hannah, first of all, Scott Bolden joins us, attorney out of D.C. Scott, what's your question for Hannah Williams?
Yeah, real quick, Hannah. I'm curious, there's a lot of Black apathy, many reasons why Black folks don't vote. What's been the community response to you and your organization's efforts to push voter turnout for the November 7th elections?
They've been pretty receptive. One of the major things that we do at Mississippi Votes that we value from our community is that we know that there are real world things that are happening to people. So we've come across people who want to vote or want to be interested in voting, but how am I going to feed my kid today? Or how am I going to get to work? Or how am I going to do, all of these other things that may come before thinking about even going to the polls. So as an organization, we try really, really, really hard to meet as many of those obstacles as people have to try to remove them out of the way. So once we're done having the conversation, or once they realize, like my kid can eat for the next week, we got school shoes, whatever, they'll come back to us and they'll say, okay, so what were you saying about voting? When is election day? How do I check my voter registration? So that's what we try to do.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thank you.
All right. We appreciate it, Hannah. Keep up the good work, and hopefully we will see a much larger turnout in a few weeks.
Thank you.